Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now, as promised, I am covering the Toyota Hypercar once again for update 1.24, and while it's not quite on the level it once was, it's still one of the better at Sardinia. However, the increased tyre wear and such means that it's just sadly not quite on the level of some of the other cars now, in my honest opinion. And while its one lap pace is still very good, obviously the requirement to kind of have to pit twice, or essentially let your tires fall off a cliff, really do hurt this build. But if you do want to buy this car for yourself, it's $3 million from the Toyota dealership. It's not the hybrid from 2016 you're looking for. It's actually the hybrid hypercar version, the GR010 from 2021. For some reason, it costs more than the others, but I think that's due to it being one of the update cars. However, this has been a lot of people's go-to Sardinia grinder ever since it really first appeared in the game. So as you can see, the livery here is by RSR King Designs, and it's, I guess, a bit of a personal one, this one. This is a breast cancer awareness livery, and that's because a very close friend of mine, his wife was recently diagnosed with breast cancer, and while they are still testing to see kind of where it's at and what stage it's at, I really do wish them the best, and I kind of want to, do my part to, show my appreciation for them and kind of just, help them. So I let them choose their charity, and their charity that they've chosen is American Breast Cancer Foundation. So instead of my donation link, I will be putting that donation link in the description down below. So if you do want to donate and help out, and as to, YouTube, if you want to demonetize me for having boobies on the livery, then, feel free. I don't care, honestly. So let's get into the build itself. You're going to run racing hard tyres on both for this one. Pretty much what you've been running, I guess, every time since this build's been around, especially the last few updates. So ensure you're running that on both the front and the rear. Body height is going to be 70 at the front, and then at the rear you're going to be running 75. Anti-roll bar is 5 on both. Damping ratio compression is 25 on both. Damping ratio expansion is 40 on both. Natural frequency is 4.00 on both. Camber angle at the front is 1.0 and 1.5 rear. Toe angle at 0.10 outwards at the front and 0.05 outwards at the rear. Onto the differential side, we've got 5 and 5, 20 and 40. Braking sensitivity is 5 for both. As you can see, normal transmission on this, no need to change parts. We're running ballast on this one at 98, minus 50 positioning and 70 on the power restrictor. Fully customizable ECU, we're going to set that to 88, and downforce we're going to set to minimum at the front at 700, and then at the rear we're going to set it to the max at 1200. Nothing else needs changing. Feel free to pause at any moment. So the event we're going to use for this one is in Europe, and it's actually going to be the Sardinia road track. If it wasn't obvious enough, this is an 800 build, and this is pretty much the go-to grinding track for the 800 cars, apart from Spa really. So just go ahead and enter that. Now, in terms of running this car, I actually recommend just running it full power the whole way. There is a reason for that. It's because essentially the car, with the extra ballast and such, and even more power restrictions to it to get it under 800, now just feels far too sluggish if you run it in any other fuel mode. Now, you can actually play around with the suspension to your liking due to the new PP system, which is actually intentional. It's not a glitch, by the way. Polyphony did say they've made these changes, so you really can get much more downforce than the previous build, allowing you to corner much quicker. So that's essentially what I did with this. So it did actually help out with the lap times, even though we had the reduced power. That is mainly because Sardinia road track, well, it really isn't a kind of straight line course. You have a few kind of more open bits where you're going to kind of get to those top speeds. Most of the time there's a lot of really kind of slow corners, but you can hit them at a much faster speed now. So in terms of actually running this build, I actually recommend still kind of short shifting, but not as much as you previously did. Now, fuel consumption on this, even running in Fuel Mix 1, is very good. That has never changed. Tyre wear, however, definitely has. So if you haven't ran this build since the original, you will realise that tyres seem to drop off, quite quick in comparison. And it's mostly the front right which will drop off. You'll realise that actually the front tyres get worn off way before the rears, to the point where if you're not careful or you don't pit soon enough, the front right will actually just fall off a cliff, and this car will become uncontrollable and essentially handle like a front wheel drive car on ice, which you definitely do not want to get to that point. So you will actually have to pit stop twice with this method, sadly. I did try and stretch it to a one stop, and that's when the car just became an absolute mess, especially on the last lap. So come the midpoint of lap 2, you're actually going to overtake the leader, and at this point, honestly, you don't need to worry about them again. You'll end up lapping pretty much the whole grid. So just do your overtake nice and cleanly, and then go for your fastest laps that you can. Fully recommend taking your first pit stop at the end of lap 7. As you can see, the front right is almost falling off that cliff. It's already starting to really feel affected this last lap. So I recommend just taking a new set of hard tyres and refilling the car to full. The reason I say this is because sometimes that little diamond or notch which it tells you to fill to is just a little bit off. So personally for me, I like to fill to full just to ensure I've got enough fuel to get me through to the end. Now you are not going to have to fill up again after this pit stop. However, I do recommend kind of around lap 12-13 just taking an extra quick pit stop to get a new set of tyres on, just to ensure you don't run into any trouble if you if you stay out on the last lap, which happened to me, and it cost me a ton of time, to the point where it's actually quicker just to dive in and get a new set of tyres. So away we go, just sprinting around until lap 12, where you can see we're going to take our last pit stop of the race, and we're only going to go for tyres at this point. It's going to be a much faster pit stop this time, so we're just going to go and choose another set of hards, press do not refuel, and essentially the mechanics will just, whip a new set of tyres on, and away you go. Now, if you look in the bottom left, you can see the hybrid charge on this car. It runs out much quicker because obviously we're running higher fuel modes. So it's up to you if you want to kind of go down a fuel modes and essentially save some of that charge by doing extra braking and all that good stuff. Personally, I don't mind too much. I'd rather do my faster laps early on, and then kind of when I'm in a rhythm, I'll just cruise around towards the end. So you will notice your lap times will actually drop off. As you can see, my charge is fully depleted and my car's even slower at this point, but it doesn't quite matter. Obviously I've got fresh rubber on, and I'm just cruising around in sort of autopilot at this point, which is essentially what this car's made for. It's always been kind of an autopilot car where you can just push and go. Sadly not as much anymore. So we're just going to round the final few corners. We've got plenty of fuel left to get us across the line. Tyres are okay, charge is fully depleted, but it's job done at this point. Now, I wish this was still as good as it used to be. It's sadly not, but yes, you can still get this working for Sardinia, and it is still a very, very good choice of car. So overall, we did this in a 25 minutes 26 seconds .109 with a fastest lap on lap 10 of a 1:35.569. So one lap pace is definitely there, almost up until the point that the charge runs out or your tyres just drop off a cliff. Overall, in around about 25 minutes, you're going to get 727,500 credits in pretty much no time, in one of the easier cars to use for, I guess, overall grinding anyway, really. So whilst in my opinion it's not the king of Sardinia anymore, it's still very usable. So hopefully this does help those out that keep asking me to do a updated build for this. So hopefully I don't have to keep going and covering this car again. As for the charity link, don't forget to head over there and kindly give your donations. You don't have to, but it really does help, and it would mean a massive amount to me. That does kind of lead me on to the point that I will actually do a breast cancer awareness stream. We'll get a bunch of us together, do some lobbies, and just have some fun while trying to raise as much money possible for breast cancer research, in hopes that, maybe one day we can find a cure for this horrible disease. So don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, turn those notifications on so you don't miss an upload from myself, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care guys, have a great day. Peace.